Are live. Hello, everyone. Jason Wilmot here. Today is Mastering Funnels, episode 9. Today is August 23rd, 2022. I hope everybody is doing well today. Really excited to be doing this podcast today. Now, you may notice I sound a little under the weather, and I am a little under the weather. So if my throat gets a little scratchy here, hopefully that is delayed, but I might not be able to go, the typical 45 minutes today. It might be a little bit shorter than that. But I'm excited to be talking to you today and excited to get into this thing. We normally talk about paid ads and funnels, but today we're going to kind of take a little bit of a shift. Now, I love talking paid ads and funnels. Why? It's because it is a silver bullet, right? In the land of data, what we're looking at is math. And if we can spend $1 to make $2 or 3 or 4 or 5, then we would always do that, right? But I know that not everybody is ready to run paid ads. I know that everybody's not ready to scale up. So today is going to be a podcast specifically on organic growth through content and content distribution. So here's what I really want to captivate. I don't know if I'm going to captivate you or not. Here's what I want to try to capture though today for you. One, I want to talk a little bit about vision and consistency. Hey, to those who are watching, by the way, thank you for joining me. And again, thank you to those who are listening to this podcast as well after the fact. So we're going to be talking about vision and consistency, how to stay consistent, and how to kind of think about the content that you're about to put out. We're going to put together a content plan today for you on the podcast. Then we're going to talk about what does quality content look like and the authority that is needed to come across in that content. And then after that, we are going to get into distribution and engagement, right? So all of these are necessary components. We can't really just have, hey, do you, Facebook user? I don't know who is commenting yet because I don't have that capability on this side of this, but hello to you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have any questions, go ahead and feel free to drop them below. Again, today we're talking about content. So the content really comes down to 3 things. And I'm going to kind of break this down and step by step, and I'll give you some actionable items to take from this. So the first is this. The first is vision and consistency. We're going to talk a little bit about what does that look like? What does it look like to have a vision for your content? No, this isn't Simon Sinek where you need you need to sit in some room and think deeply about the why of your business. No, I'm not going to go that deep in this. I just want this to be very actionable so that you can take this, you can make something, you can do something today actually after listening to this. So we're talking about vision and consistency because consistency is so darn important in our output, but it's also important for these algorithms, and it's important for people to consume our content. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then quality and authority, what we're going to talk about here is, what sort of content should you be putting out there? I'm going to give you a couple different examples. And then last, we're going to talk about distribution and engagement. So at some point though, you have to take this content that you are making and you have to put it out into the market, put it out into the world. And I'm going to give you some tips and some ideas on what platforms to use and then how to go about this. And then if we have time, the fun part is how do you really leverage technology? Or in this case, how do you leverage distribution systems so that if you can do one thing, maybe it can trigger an effect and there could be some downstream output for that. I think the easiest example that you see on this is like if you post something on Instagram, if you post an Instagram reel, then you have that ability to post it also on Facebook. It's just baked in, right? If you're putting something out on TikTok and you post it, it gives you this ability to then post that same thing on Instagram, and then that gives you the ability to post on Facebook. So I want you to be thinking about downstream exercises. So, hey, Ashley, thank you for the comment. Hopefully this is going to be helpful for you today. So here we go. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get into vision and consistency. Now, what do I mean by vision and consistency when it comes to content creation? So what I want you to be thinking about right now is, I understand the need to get sales now, fill your pipeline now. But when I'm thinking about this content, what I'm kind of forcing myself to think through is what would this look like 1 year from now? If I were to start this content output, what would this look like 1 year from now? What is the end goal? Well, the end goal would be a pipeline that's full, right? A full pipeline 1 year from now, full of my perfect customers. So what do I need to do to attract those customers? And what am I willing to do for an entire year to do that? So, really, this is not necessarily about getting sales now, getting leads now. This is about thinking about authority. How do I attract the people that I want to attract and have them see me as an authority? And then we're going to talk about quality and authority in this next piece, but that's kind of the vision. So if you're a real estate agent, right? If you are a marketer, if you're an agency, if you're a SaaS company, like what is your perfect audience? And you should already have that probably in mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. But then what sort of content do we need to be able to be putting in front of those people? So before we go down to what type of content, this is kind of what I would think about. Is there something that you could commit to doing for a year, right? So I've made this goal to myself that I want to do this podcast every week for 1 year. And we are on episode 9. I've taken 1 week off just because I think it was jet lagged. Thought about taking another day off today, but I want to stay consistent with this because I understand this. I understand that when I go live, what I can then do with this content is it gets chopped up and it gets distributed. It gets distributed to Facebook and Instagram, to YouTube, to TikTok, to LinkedIn. And there's a lot of posts that are made from this, and there's a lot of engagement farming, and there's a lot of questions and dialogue, and that feeds what I can talk about the next week. So I've kind of come across the fact that I love doing these lives. Now they're work, right? This isn't comfortable talking, being sick like this, but at the same time, I like doing this. So that's one of these things. So so again, back up. What is one of these things that you can kind of commit to for a year? And again, you have to enjoy this. You have to, you're going to be putting yourself out there. So be thinking about what you can do. Maybe this is a blog. Maybe this is a post. Maybe it's doing lives just like this. So if it's easier to think about this, then rather than like, what are you willing to commit to do for a year? Think about what can you do once a week? Could you do that? Could you do that 50 times? Could you dedicate 50, something, 50 outputs per year like this? Is it going live? Is it posting? Is it doing engagement? I don't know what you're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about some ideas here later on, but the whole goal here is what is something that you could be doing, once a week? And then maybe you could even kind of go down to like, well, is there something that I could do once a day? I like to think about the once a week thing because this is more long term, right? If I skip out on a day, I mean, I've tried going down the rabbit hole of I'm going to post every single day to TikTok and it's going to be original and all of that. And eventually, I just found out like I couldn't do that. So what I've decided to do is go live once a week and cut this up and then post those little pieces to TikTok every single day, and as well as these other platforms as well. So I think you have to be comfortable with this. And so I think it's very easy to have ideas. It's very easy to have goals. But the hardest part of all of this is always execution. So what can you do to execute across this vision, across this consistency? So again, we talked about consistency early on. Like it is important that, so every weekday, at least for the last 9 episodes, I've done this every single Tuesday at 12:15, and people know that I'm getting on and I'm going to be doing this live, so they can interact with me if they so choose. Right now, most of the engagement comes after the fact. Most of the questions come after the fact in the and like the recorded versions on YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. But I know I'm putting myself out there and I'm kind of waving my hand saying, hey, if you want to engage, I'm going to be doing this every single Tuesday. And here we are again. So again, if you have questions, I will answer them on this podcast. I might have to wait a few minutes before I get to those. But go ahead and drop a comment in there. So people know that I am making myself available to them during this time. Another important aspect of this is if people know that they can, come in and engage with this content, or if people are finding my content engaging, then the algorithm is going to start showing my content to people. So that consistency is important on the algorithm side as well, not just for the consumer, but it's also the delivery method. So just understand that consistency is a very, very important thing. Now, do you have to have this super consistent? Do you have to have an outline every single time you go live? Do you have to have this form? I don't know. I think what it enables you to do is to figure this out. What I mean by that is this, like there's some weeks that I do this where I have like, I wake up, maybe it's even during the weekends, like I know what I'm going to be talking about on Tuesday. I've got it dialed in and I'm excited to talk about it. And then there's other times where it's just like, man, I don't really have a really detailed game plan, but I know I want to go out here and I know I want to talk about these things. And that's actually one of the things that I'm talking about today. I wasn't really exactly sure about what to talk about, but I didn't want to talk about paid ads. I wanted to talk about content and distribution systems and making things, that are meaningful that anybody and everybody can use. Because I understand not everybody is ready for paid ads, but everybody needs to be, especially if you're a business owner, right? Every business owner needs to be putting out their authority out there, needs to be creating content. And so one of the ways that I kind of like to play around with my ideas is actually just going live. So what I've done over to my right, you can't see it, it's on my computer. I've written out this outline of the things that I kind of want to cover on this podcast. But one of the things that I like to do, especially for my own marketing and for my own content, is I like to just think on the fly. I like to kind of get this rough idea, and then I'm sort of synthesizing this information in real time and thinking this through. And hopefully there's questions and there's engagement so that there's like a meaningful dialogue here. But it doesn't the point is this. The point is you can do some of this on the fly. And in fact, I like doing some of this on the fly. It's not always perfectly mapped out. Like I like the spontaneity of going live and not necessarily having a perfect plan, because honestly, when you go live, not everything happens perfectly, right? There's audio glitches or something happens, or I don't know. There's everything that can go wrong. So I think like the vision has to be there for how can you go out and help people. Who is your ultimate customer so that you can attract them over this course of the year. But then what does this consistency kind of entail? Definitely it entails time. Like there's this time element where you have to be consistent with this time. But with the content, I don't necessarily think you have to be super consistent. I think you can have some overall themes. You can talk about your own personal life, you can talk about professional life, you can talk about you're putting yourself in the seat of the viewer. You can do a lot of different things, but I think the consistency is just, talking about some main themes. So that is a little bit on the vision and the consistency. And this is where I think we're going to have a little bit better discussion about quality and authority. So when we put out content, unfortunately, this is not the days of the past where we just put out useless content. And then, sometimes that actually just works. Just putting out content, right? This is not so much a quantity game, but it's a quality game. Now, I do like something though from Gary Vee. And Gary Vee says this as far as like what's more important than like in terms of quality and in terms of quantity, what is more important? And I think most people kind of would side with, well, definitely quality content is way more important than this quantity. But there's an argument to be made for quantity, because what you're doing is you're just putting out a lot of content and you're figuring out what is actually quality. Because the market decides on what quality is. Now, I recorded a good podcast, podcast 7. It was a banger, right? It was awesome. I thought it was really, really good. Now, it's up to the market to decide that. But I think what you're going to find over time is if you're just consistent with things, if you're just going, and out and you're putting out your content, you are going to find what that quality looks like. But it's hard to find that quality without putting out quantity. So again, that's kind of some feedback on it's just important to stay consistent. It's just important to create this little mental machine of output, output, output. I'm going to go live. I'm going to, post. I'm going to do groups. Whatever your content is, it's just important that it is consistent so that over time you can see these themes emerge of, what are people actually engaging with? Where can I demonstrate my authority? But it's really hard if you just kind of start from this is quality content and I only do quality content sort of mindset. No, the goal of content is just to put that out there. I like this term that I heard from my friend Justin Barr. He said, this is engagement farming. And I really liked that, right? This is engagement farming. So you are farming for the attention of individuals. Now, granted, you're going to find the attention of other folks who are not, your perfect customer, but they might refer you. They might talk about you. So, the engagement farming is basically how can I put out content that people find engaging and helpful? And ultimately, you can fill your own pipeline for this, or you can just demonstrate some authority in this as well. So, some quality and authority thoughts right here. The first is this: what can you do to put yourself out as a thought leader? Right? I think desperation is a stinky cologne, right? I love that term. Desperation is a stinky cologne. If you're putting out content and you're putting out content because you need sales, like, oh no, I need sales right now. I need to do some content. That content is probably going to come across pretty desperate, right? It's not going to come from a spot of authority. It's not going to come from like a spot of love or just like wherever you base your content out of. It's going to kind of come out of fear. And we don't want to be putting content out like that. So, how can you identify yourself as a thought leader? Well, I think it's one, it's not starting from fear. And if you are operating from fear, you're definitely not a thought leader. So find that thing where you have confidence. You have confidence in talking about funnels. I could talk about funnels. I can talk about automation. I can talk a lot of things, right? SEO, because I feel so at home with those, right? There's a lot of different things though where I'm going to just be out of my element. So I'm not going to talk about those. And it's okay to like experiment with that. And it's okay to be honest where it's like, hey, I don't understand this fully, or I have like 2% understanding of this. So yeah, I think when you're speaking from authority, it's things that you understand very well. And if you're just trying to come across as this bro or this, this individual who knows it all and clearly it doesn't, that's going to come through in your content as well. I mean, I don't know. Be an honest person. I think, should that be a bullet point in this? Be an honest person. Don't be that guy. Don't be that bro who's, I don't know. I think we've all seen that. You know what sort of content that you want to put out. And I think that, you can go find a couple individuals that you like, go look at what they do, right? Maybe not everybody is a Gary Vee sort of guy. Okay, so go find somebody else that you like and kind of model your content around that. This isn't like reinventing the wheel. You can go out and you can find people that you want to emulate, and you can kind of figure out like what are they doing to engage with people? What's the copy that they're using? What's sort of the cuts? Like you can find and use other people's stuff. Do that. I mean, my goodness, if you're going to try to cook all this up from your own, this is going to be hard to do. So go find some people who have an authority in their spot, and then use that sort of template or that model, kind of bring it into your own. So next, you have to find things that people are interested in. That's one of the problems about talking with the. So like I talk about mastering funnels quite a bit. And there's a process that I use when we're running ads, when we're building funnels, when we're scaling up businesses, right? Not everybody's in the space of scaling up. So maybe they're not interested in that. So maybe I need to talk about something else. Maybe I need to talk about quality content and growth and organic growth like today. Right? So we have to find things that people are interested in. I am very interested in UTM tracking because like UTM tracking is one of those things that passes parameters into sales systems or into CRMs. And it's the proof. It is like the missing component that most marketers and agencies just don't know how to do until you learn how to do it. And then it's like, this is a marvelous thing. Are people interested in UTM tracking? No, not really. So is it going to be good content? I don't know, might be good like demand gen, right? Where people who are looking for the solution, like they find it and boom, there it is. But like, I don't know if on the whole, if people are interested about UTM tracking. So there has to be some like give and take. Yes, you've got some authority, but if nobody is listening to this message, if nobody is ever like engaging with you on the content that you're putting out, maybe your content isn't interesting. So again, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Have a few themes, dance around a few themes and understand like what are people engaging with? What do people find interesting? What do I have authority in? How can I, help individuals? And I think that those are the pieces that are going to come together, but it's going to take time. It might take 9 episodes of a podcast. It might take some time to figure out ultimately what that is. So another thing that I think you can think through, something that I tend to do in every single podcast is answer people's questions, right? I like answering questions. Now, you can't just always answer questions all the time, like whenever they have them, because there needs to be a flow. But I think questions do a couple things. First of all, it gives the audience a chance to engage, right? It gives the audience a chance to engage with you. It's not just a one-way, stream where it's just going all out. There's no end. So it's a good way to connect with your audience, right? It's a good way to connect with them and bring them into this, because ultimately that is why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the viewers and the listeners and to help my team, right? To grow the business, to help my team, hire more people, change more lives. Like that is a good part about business. So engaging with questions is fun because you get to pull in that audience. But at the same time, that opens you up to just talk or riff about things that you know about. And it demonstrates your ability to have some expertise. Like if somebody asks questions, then I am just able to be able, sorry, if somebody asks questions, then what somebody can do, like what I can do is I can just like feed off of that and maybe like, oh my gosh, maybe that's a good podcast. Maybe that's a good episode, an entire episode that we could talk about. Or maybe it is just a good time to demonstrate your authority right then and there. Like somebody asks a question, you have an answer, boom, that's a powerful way to engage and show your authority there. So again, it's engaging with your audience. You're having this dialogue with them, but you're also introducing yourself to new things to talk about. And that I think is one of the best things. And ultimately, what I think you can find in those questions, you can find the pain and you can find the struggle. And if you can find the pain and the struggle, then you've really started hitting on the head of what you need to be talking about, because that is ultimately what people are trying to do. They're trying to solve their problems. And if you can be that bridge to help them from where they are to where they want to be, then that makes you authority, or that makes you authoritative in that case. And then hopefully your content just follows after that. So what questions do people have? Another way that you can improve your quality content and your authority is, where do you see your competitors failing their customers? So we've all had a bad experience as a consumer or a customer, right? Now, if you are in business and you have a competitor, I'm not saying that you have to go throw rocks or just like, speak down on your competitors, because I don't think that that's necessarily a good plan, right? You don't need to be complaining about your customers. You don't need to give them any voice at all, but you can understand where they're failing their customers. So because they're your competitors, their customers are most likely good fits for you. And so what you can then do is you can go understand like, where are the pain, where are the problems, where are you not getting the service that you expected or deserved? And then what you can do with that is then you can build content off of that as well. So if somebody is unhappy, with their marketing agency because their marketing agency doesn't know how to connect the dots with UTMs, right? I don't know. Maybe UTMs are the answer. If they are struggling with this thing, then you can bring voice to that struggle and you can pinpoint that the solution in your content. So the content is just so powerful. It's not just about putting out ads. It's not just about putting out sound blips. It's about understanding where these people are and meeting them with that need. So, and then also, like, what processes have you, sorry, this is my own notes. So, and again, like, in addition to what we can do with quality and authority, I wrote this down. Like, what processes have you created or discovered to make your life or business better? What I mean by that is this. So after this quality and authority, I'm going to talk about distribution and engagement. So this is sort of showing or educating that you have developed processes in order to help people with this. It's like, okay, not only have I heard these complaints, not only have I like thought about the solutions to these complaints that people are having, right? So if they're going to a competitor and they have this problem, not only are you hearing that problem, not only are you actively thinking about this problem, but you've actually built a product or solution to solve this problem. So if you have an offer out there, this is really where good content comes from, because you understand the need, you understand where they want to go, but then you've also built that solution. So you can talk about your solution, like mastering funnels. If people are struggling, they have an offer out there, whether you're a SaaS company, whether you're a coach, whether you're a marketing agency, and you're trying to build funnels for individuals and really understand the data, understand the backbone of these funnels so that you can scale and split test and retarget. Like, I have a process and I have a product for all of that. And I can understand that and I can speak to that. And so if you have a solution that you have developed for the market because you understand the pain point, you've talked to enough of these customers to kind of think of the solution, and then you've actually developed it, well, that is a great piece of content that you can talk about over and over and over again. And then on top of that, what you could do is you could talk about the success stories of people who have used your solution or who have used your product or your course or your method or whatever. So that's really a fun way to to demonstrate that you understand, like that you've understood the market and their questions and their concerns and all of this, but you've actually just built something to solve it all. So I really like that. Quick drink here. The last thing on quality content and authority is this. Can you document any of this knowledge and content? What I mean by that is it goes back to what I said earlier. That's where these testimonials are really cool, right? Can you demonstrate your authority in this content by telling stories about, the processes that you've used, or the problems that people had. Ultimately what this comes down to is stories. People love stories. So if you can tell a story, and you can tell the story about this character, like a real life character, you're not just making this up. This isn't just marketing, right? This has to be true. So you have this customer, you have this story, and they went through this problem. You talked to them on the phone. They trusted you with their time, money, and energy. And so what you did is you went into business with this person. You partnered with them, and then they had this extraordinary, they had this like phenomenal experience where you helped them like completely. Like one of my first clients when I started out in this agency world, we helped them scale their revenue drastically, like by 10 million a year. They were doing 14 million, scaled to 24 million in 1 year. And the way that we did that was I listened to what the owner wanted. We looked at the competition, right? And we did a lot of different things. We did SEO, we did keyword research, we set up retargeting funnels, we did social media management, and leveraged that. We ran ads, we ran inbound search ads, and like nothing like improved immediately, but it was all like a 5% gain, 10% gain, 20% gain. And that's just built and built and built and built and built. And I love being able to tell that story. And I know I'm not really going into like the details here, but that is what people like. They can identify like, okay, I am this person who wants to scale their business. I am also this person who kind of understands the internet. And I also understand that I'm not doing it right because I am good at business and I'm not good at what X, like Facebook ads or Google ads. And so they're identifying with this. And then they hear, oh my gosh, I want to make $10 million extra a year. So they gravitate towards that idea. And all of a sudden you become the authority, you become the educator in that space. And so if you can demonstrate your own effectiveness, if you can demonstrate your output through case studies, through video, through educational content, through just random lives like this, then you're really on your way to becoming authoritative in your space. But not just authority, you're having quality content. And again, you've done the quantity game, so you understand like what people actually want in this game. So in this game of content and just consuming, right? We don't all want to be consumers. We want to be the people who are making the content as well. So we've shifted, right? We've talked about vision and consistency. We've talked about quality content and authority. And next we're going to talk about distribution, and we're going to talk about engagement. But first, I need to read a question because this was a question that was posted by somebody on LinkedIn. I don't know who they are. Here's what we go. I don't know who this is, and they're no longer watching. So sorry about that. Sorry that I couldn't get to your question in time, but I'm just going to read this kind of verbatim, and we'll go from there. So this person said, in reference to quality content and authority, I don't know. I think the key here is talk about their pain points, them versus I do, we are, we sell. I think this is a great comment so far. You start talking about their pain, and you can make some jokes, etc. You could have their full attention. If you're talking about their worries and what their fears are, this content will spread and have lasting power. The sales content just for content is a loser and a waste of time. I'd push the pain points and touch on some of your experience and how it could help them. Man, I don't know who wrote that. Restream? I don't know. Restream is the software tool that I use to distribute, but it doesn't always say who actually dropped this. I know it's coming from LinkedIn, so I'll be able to tell this on LinkedIn afterwards. So thank you for this great question. This is awesome. I'm going to read this actually one more time. So I think the key here is talk about their pain points, them versus I do, we are, we sell. I think that's a great spot, right? The content shouldn't be about you. The content is always about them. It's about where they are and where they want to be. And the content is like it's highlighting your offer. Your offer is always the bridge to connect where they are to where they want to be. And so that is your offer, but you got to warm them up to your offer. You got to warm them up to this idea. And maybe they don't know they're in pain yet. Maybe they don't know that they're like problem. Maybe they're, problem aware. Maybe they're not solution aware. So you're trying to flesh this out of them. So again, I think it's talking about pain. Now, you don't always have to talk about pain, but pain is definitely like, it definitely resonates with people because we all want to be where, we wake up and we've got goals for the day, or we've got goals for the week, or we've got goals for the year. I don't know if it's financial, if it's fitness, if it's health, if it's wellness, if it's prosperity, if it's whatever it is, family. We all want to be somewhere, but we're always in this spot where we don't want to be, right? Even if we're content, we always want to be either more content or more happy, or we're helping more people, or you want more revenue, or whatever it is, right? By default, humans just kind of have this innate I don't know. I don't know if it's a discomfort. I think humans don't like discomfort, and we should seek discomfort. And I think that will actually help with a lot of this, but that's probably an aside. But yeah, I think talking about their pain what it really does is it resonates with them because they have felt that. That is an emotional feel. Like, I feel this. I felt that anxiety, right? I felt the anxiety of not enough revenue and not like sure how I'm going to pay my team. Like, I felt that, right? Or I feel like this anxiety of I don't know what to do. I've got like leads, I don't have systems, or it's like I've got this anxiety, I've raised a bunch of money and I don't know how to go to market. Like, if you're speaking to those, like, you can identify with where people are, they will listen. They will definitely listen in. And I do think you make a good point here about making some jokes, and because you have their full attention. I don't think we need to take ourselves too seriously, right? I think we can kind of joke around and be okay with that. I think we all take ourselves a little too seriously. And like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, like, you don't want to be that bro. You don't want to be that person on there who's like got all of the answers. And I don't know. That doesn't resonate with me. Maybe it resonates with you. If it does, you're probably not listening, because that's not me. You can watch some bro and some Lambo elsewhere. So, all right. If you're talking about their worries and where their fears are, the content will spread and have lasting power. I think that's true, because I think what is true about content, right? Good content is true about struggles. They're evergreen. Like, these evergreen struggles don't really go away. We're always facing them. And I think content that addresses evergreen problems will be evergreen content. At least that's what I'm kind of trying to say there. So the sales content, just for content, is a loser and a waste of time. I think it is. I think that's, so I don't mind like plugging mastering funnels. And of course that is a sales plug, but at the same time, like, I have a moral obligation to sell this because I believe in it, right? Because I would rather somebody buy my product than somebody else's, because I truly believe that my product is better, right? If you don't believe that, your sales are going to come off sleazy. So I still think you can do like talks about sales, like, and talk about your offer and your product and all of that, but it needs to be rooted in something else. Nobody is motivated to get off the couch or motivated to hop on the phone call with you because you talk about, your product. You first identify with where they are and where they want to be, and then you can go on from there. So thank you so much for that comment. I don't know who left it. That was awesome in a doozy. Okay, for this last part, what I want to talk about is distribution and engagement. So you have content. We've created content. We've talked about what kind of content to create, how to, really establish yourself as an authority figure in this content space. And now we need to go out and we need to get it in front of people. Now, this is a part of the podcast where you might have disagreements with me. You might have your own ideas. I'm just going to kind of go through these quickly on what platforms you can use. And then hopefully at the end, we can just touch just a pinch of automation so that you don't have to do all of these things yourself. So again, we're thinking long-term on this, right? What are some long-term, what's like a year, right? What's a year commitment? What can I do consistently for a year in order to grow my pipeline? And if a year is too hard to think about, it's like, okay, well then what can I do one time a week for 52 weeks or 50? Maybe you just want to take a couple of weeks off. That's okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to think about Facebook. Now, Facebook might be relevant for your audience. Facebook might be like old dinosaurs. I don't know. It doesn't I think at the end of the day, you need to meet your customers with where they are. So I'm going to try to go through all of these, at least the ones that are relevant to me. I'm not going to mention Snapchat because I don't know Snapchat because I don't do Snapchat, right? But one of the reasons why I don't do Snapchat is I like things that are evergreen and last. So what do you mean by that? I think we'll flesh out. So let's just say that you have content. You can put it on Facebook. You could put it as a Facebook post, right? You could put it out as a Facebook story. So you have a story, you have a post, right? You could create your own Facebook group. So you could put that content on your own personal page. You could put it on a business page. You could put it in a group. So that's one piece of content that you've now put in 3 different spots. Well, you could also highlight, hey, I just dropped this on my group, or I just dropped this on my page. You could put that out as a story, or you can go live. So all of a sudden, like this one piece of content can start to be multiplied across these pieces. So again, if you're trying to be consistent with this, doing this for a year, just think about what can I do once a week? Maybe it's 5 minutes a week, and you're just going to do that 52 times. So Facebook is a great spot for that. Again, I like Facebook because it has that evergreen approach. Now, most of the content that you put out is going to be seen by a few people and get buried and never going to see it again. But that's the game that we're playing. So, but the beauty about Facebook groups and the beauty about Facebook posts is they're all searchable, right? And so they can get unearthed and they can be seen again and again and again. And that's kind of the same thing as Reels, or Instagram. So on Instagram, we have Reels, we have posts, and we have stories, right? And we could also do a live. So with the posts, what we're trying to do is we're trying to be wise with our hashtags, because those hashtags have staying power. Again, if this is an evergreen problem, and if you create evergreen content, then what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to, continue to stay ranked high for that search on that hashtag. So again, it's being wise with our keywords. It's being wise with our distribution. Okay, YouTube. What can we do on YouTube with our content? Well, first of all, you could create a channel, right? That would be good. You could create a playlist of all of your content so that, you could embed that somewhere. You could send that somewhere with all of your content. You could do shorts, which have been a very, very powerful way to, that we've gone to grow our channel now and our viewership. What shorts are just 90-second clips. So if you're creating a clip for TikTok, if you're creating something for Instagram, if you're creating something for Facebook, you might as well put it on YouTube. So what you should also be thinking through is these don't have to be like unique one silo, right? This could be a combination. So you take one piece of content, you could put it on your Facebook, post, Facebook group, your Facebook page. You could create a story off of that. You could put it on Instagram as a reel. You could put it as a post. You could put another story, a story about that. You could put that same piece of content on YouTube. You could put it as a short. It could live on your channel in a playlist. You could take that then to TikTok. So TikTok, what we could do on there is we can post our content, and then we could create a short. Sorry, not a short. All videos on TikTok. No, I shouldn't say all videos. If you're using that 90-second clip, you could do that there. On TikTok, you can put up to 10-minute videos. So if you film something from YouTube, you can put it on TikTok as well. Then you could also go live on TikTok if you have more than 1,000 followers. So on LinkedIn, what you can do here is you can, create a post. You can take that same video. You could create a post on your LinkedIn. You could do a live, like I'm going live on LinkedIn right now. That's where that awesome comment was from. Shout out to LinkedIn. Shout out to that comment, I should say. This is where I'm feeling it a little bit, and I'm starting to get that scratchy throat. So I'm going to end this soon, but we're almost done anyway. So you've got that LinkedIn, right? You've got that video. You could post it on LinkedIn. You could put it as a live. You could recycle your reels that you're using on other platforms on LinkedIn. And then what you could also do is, to build your own personal brand. If you have an SMS tool, you could send that video out to your SMS subscribers. You could send that out to your email. You could write a blog post. You could write the blog post. You could embed some reels. You could embed some TikToks, right? You could embed your YouTube video. You could then send that blog post to your, downstream via email, via SMS. You could put that blog post on LinkedIn as an article. So there's so many ways that you can just start thinking about this. But I think the thing is it really comes down to this. It really comes down to content first. So thinking about what is the quality content, and then after that, it becomes a system or this distribution mechanism. And then there's also tools like Zapier. So if you do this one thing, think if this and that. So if I post this, then do this, then do this, then do this. So there's sort of recipes that you can create, and then there's automations that you can create in order to kind of take this one piece of content and just continue to just push it down the pipeline, to multiple channels and distribution. That's something that we're really good at here. It's something that we're actually building more products and services around. Because that's what people want. Like they just want to be able to make the content. And then what we can do is we can just put it on these extra rails for them to enhance them. And then eventually, once you get enough eyeballs, once you get enough people to your funnel or on your brand and in your authority, that's when they start coming in, right? And that's where you can start layering on things like data. to understand what is your best content, where are they coming from. You can start layering on your retargeting, right? So if people are coming in organically and you want to stay in front of them, maybe that's when you turn on the ads. Maybe it's $5 a day. Maybe it's not that much at all. So you're getting people into your funnel now with your quality content. You're understanding what they want and sort of what their message is. And then what you can do from that is you can start retargeting them. And if that is working, eventually what you can then do is you can take your best content, the content that you know works, the content that you know resonates with people, and that's when you start running ads, right? So this doesn't have to include ads at all. But eventually, I always lean towards, but if we can run ads, then that is better, because the secret of ads is trackable, predictable, scalable. If you can take one piece of content and you can spend $1 and you can make three, well, then let's spend $1,000 and make 3,000. Let's spend $10,000 and make 30, right? The math should be there, but it's very hard to run ads. It's very hard to run anything without quality content. And I think most people just think like, okay, this ads are this panacea where I'm just going to take this, all I need to do is turn on ads and magically I'm going to have this magic money printing machine. And that's just not the case. So I think really what it all starts, where it all starts is always in content, understanding. And man, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just like, find out what content resonates with your customer or your personas. And it's going to be around pain. It's going to be around all of the things that we talked about. You really find that, you dial it in, you dial in your message. As soon as you use paid means, all that paid traffic is going to do is just amplify, right? So if you're amplifying bad marketing, if you're amplifying this bro sort of, I don't know, solution, people are just going to find that like unattractive. But if you have good content, if you look like an authority, if you have like this meaningful educational, content that you can put in front of people, as soon as you turn on that paid ads, that's just going to amplify your offer and amplify what you do, and you're going to have amazing success. So, all right, that's going to be it. I'm really pumped about this today. I didn't really know where we were going to be starting, but I really enjoyed kind of walking you through at least my thought process on how to, make this quality content for folks and how to go in and really captivate people. I think by listening to them, engaging with them, having questions with them, having dialogue with them. And so it's just understanding what this quality content looks like. And then it's beginning to drip it out. And then at some point, I think, hopefully you can amplify this by turning on ads and really just scaling up. I know scaling up is easier said than done, right? Because there's systems and there's products, or there's these behind the scene things that just need to get accomplished. Maybe it's support. But that is sort of that's my mindset on creating, organic growth through content. So thank you to those who have listened today. Sorry, we didn't have any other time for any questions, but I loved that question in the middle there. Again, I said it was a banger. It was great. That was great. So thank you to whoever dropped that. I'll be able to check later on LinkedIn. So thank you very much for that. So we have, we've had a great podcast today. We've talked about organic growth through content, kind of circled in how we can layer on funnels eventually, but that wasn't really the focus. So if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them anywhere on our socials, anywhere you're seeing these videos, anywhere that these gets cut up. More than happy to address your questions on the live. Just add them as comments, and then we'll talk about it. So thank you to those who are listening to this as a podcast, and thank you to those folks who are watching this after the fact. I truly am humbled every single time I get on and do this. It's always like a tinge of like, I'm kind of afraid to put myself out there, but I always love doing it like towards the end. I don't know. This gives me energy. This gives me, this fills my bucket, I should say that. So thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time out of your day today. And we'll see you next week. Take care. And be good.